The Marvelettes then and now. The Marvelettes were an American girl group that achieved popularity in the early to mid-1960s. They consisted of schoolmates Gladys Horton, Katherine Anderson, Georgeanna Tillman, Juanita Cowart, now Cowart Motley, and Georgia Dobbins, who was replaced by Wanda Young prior to the group signing their first deal. They were the first successful act of Motown Records after the Miracles and its first significantly successful female group after the release of the 1961 #1 single, Please Mr. Postman, one of the first #1 singles recorded by an all-female vocal group and the first by a Motown recording act. Nevertheless, they managed a major comeback in 1966 with Don't Mess with Bill, along with several other hits. They struggled with problems of poor promotion from Motown, health issues, and substance abuse, with Cowart the first to leave in 1963, followed by Georgianna Tillman in 1965, and Gladys Horton in 1967. The group ceased performing together in 1969 and, following the release of The Return of the Marvelettes in 1970, featuring only Wanda Rogers, disbanded for good, with both Rogers and Katherine Anderson leaving the music business. In this video we are going to focus on the Marvelettes then and now. On our channel we feature such videos. Remember to like, comment and subscribe to our channel for such. Gladys Horton. Gladys Katherine Horton, born May 30, 1945, Gainesville, Florida, January 26, 2011, was the group's lead vocals, 1960 to 1967. The group that would become the Marvelettes formed at Inkster High School in Inkster, Michigan, a suburb located west of Detroit, Michigan, by 15-year-old Glee Club member Gladys Horton in the fall of 1960. Horton enlisted older Glee Club members Katherine Anderson, Georgianna Tillman, Juanita Cowart, and a high school graduate Georgia Dobbins to join her. By 1967, Gladys Horton had reconsidered her involvement with the Marvelettes. After her first child, Sammy, was born with cerebral palsy, Horton decided to leave the group entirely, doing so before the release of the hit, My Baby Must Be a Magician. The song peaked at number 17 and was noted for featuring The Temptations' Melvin Franklin providing the opening line. With Horton out, Harvey Fuqua introduced the group to and BOGAN, who became Horton's replacement. Gladys Horton had moved to Los Angeles where she raised her 3 sons. In 1989, Gladys Horton tried to reunite the original Marvelettes after being offered a contract with Motor City Records. Wanda Young was the only other Marvelette to agree to sing on the recording. Following this, Horton continued to perform, sometimes as Gladys Horton of the Marvelettes. Due to a legal disagreement with Larry Marshak, who bought the Marvelettes name from Motown after the label lost rights to the name, Horton would fight for years to retain ownership of the name. By 2006, both Horton and Katherine Anderson began fighting to get back ownership of the name and were in their final stages of having the name returned to them when Horton died from a stroke at a California nursing home in January 2011. Katherine Anderson. Katherine Anderson Schaffner, born January 16, 1944, Ann Arbor, Michigan, provided vocals for the Marvelettes from 1960 to 1969. A member of the American girl group The Marvelettes. She was with the group all from the beginning to the end in 1970, when the members decided to go separate ways. Katherine Anderson left the music business after the release of The Return of the Marvelettes in 1970. In 2004, Mark Taylor's biography, The Original Marvelettes, Motown's mystery girl group, was released, built primarily on interviews with Katherine Anderson. Katherine Anderson resides in Inkster and mentors several Detroit-area vocal groups. Georgianna Tillman. Georgianna Marie Tillman Gordon, February 6, 1944, Inkster, Michigan, January 6, 1980, provided vocals for the Marvelettes, 1960 to 1965. Georgianna Tillman married longtime boyfriend Billy Gordon of the Contours in 1964. By the end of 1964, Georgianna Tillman, a longtime sufferer of sickle cell anemia, was diagnosed with lupus. By early 1965, struggling to keep up with their stringent recording sessions and touring schedules and her illnesses, a doctor of Tillman's advised her to leave performing for good. The rest of the Marvelettes carried on as a trio from then on. In January 1980, former Marvelette and original member Georgianna Tillman died from complications of lupus, in her mother's house in Inkster, at the age of 36. Shortly afterwards, several of the former members filed suit against Motown, complaining of not receiving any royalties from their work. Wanda Young. Wanda LaFaye Young, August 9, 1943 to December 15, 2021, also known as Wanda Rogers, was an American singer, known for being a member of the Motown all-female singing group The Marvelettes, and after 1965, the lead singer. The Marvelettes' hit-making days had waned by the end of the 1960s, and in 1970 the group disbanded. In 1970, Wanda recorded a solo album with Smokey Robinson serving as her producer. Sensing marketing value as a Marvelettes release, Motown released the album as The Return of the Marvelettes. The other Marvelettes refused to participate for the album cover and the album flopped. Young left the label in 1972 when the Motown label relocated from Detroit to Los Angeles. She made a brief return to performing in the early 1990s, but without Marvelettes members Gladys Horton and Katherine Anderson. They released an album called The Marvelettes Now, the artwork of which was modeled after their Pink, 1967 album, and featured both Young and Horton on the cover. She died from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in Garden City, Michigan on December 15, 2021, at the age of 78. Georgia Dobbins Davis. She was a founding member of one of the pioneering female vocal groups, and she co-wrote Motown's first #1 hit, the smash, Please Mr. Postman. Dobbins formed a vocal group at Inkster High School with Gladys Horton, Georgeanna Tillman, Katherine Anderson, and Juanita Cowart. Calling themselves the Marvels, the group auditioned for Motown head Berry Gordy, Jr., who asked for them to return with an original song. Dobbins then took a blues song from her friend William Garrett and reworked it into an early version of Please Mr. Postman, which the group performed for Gordy. Gordy knew he had a hit, but asked Brian Holland and Robert Bateman to further refine the song for radio. He also signed the group, renaming them the Marvelettes. Unfortunately, Dobbins' father forced her to leave the group because he was worried about the teens playing in nightclubs, and so Gladys Horton took over as the lead singer, and Dobbins faded from the musical spotlight. Please Mr. Postman was not only a 1961 hit, it was Motown's first #1 hit, and helped set the label up for a decade of radio dominance in the 60s. Ultimately, very few fans ever knew the name Georgia Dobbins, but she played a pivotal, and unsung, role in the development of the greatest soul music label of all time. And today we salute her contribution, and give her family our deepest condolences. Juanita Cowart. Juanita Cowart was born January 8, 1944. She was an original member of the Motown girl group the Marvelettes. In early 1963, the group was shortened to a quartet when Juanita Cowart opted to leave the band, citing a mental breakdown caused by stress from performing on the road and a mistake she made in describing the group's background during an appearance on American Bandstand. And BOGAN, who became Gladys Horton's replacement in the Marvelettes. However, by the time BOGAN joined the group in 1968, the group struggled with recordings after the release of Magician, with Motown offering little to no promotion. After the Marvelettes dissolved, Singer and BOGAN joined New Birth and Also Love, Peace and Happiness. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you on the next video.